Talking back the night, let's take a look at a few news stories that are floating around, but from a slightly different perspective with Talking Back the Night regular Nathan Bray. G'day, mate.
Hey, mate, how you going?
Evidence shows Australia is no longer a democracy.
Well, there you go, Christian. It does explain a lot, though, doesn't it? All these problems we keep having. Look, this is a report straight out of WikiLeaks that's been going around Australia and obviously around the world. What they're saying now is there's officially 266 lobbying entities registered in Canberra with the Department of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, right? And on top of these, right, third-party lobbyists, there are sort of special interest groups who conduct their own lobbying. In other words, they lobby and they pay money. So these lobbyists sort of encompass a wide range of interests, so including sort of mining, clubs, hospitals, private health funds, etc., etc. And it makes a lot of sense because you'll notice that this mining super tax, etc., all these things never actually came to fruition,
Right.
because and the carbon tax got repealed. All these types of things are happening as a result of the lobbyists that now control our governments with monies and, of course, political donations, and it's very factual. And the question that's being raised by a lot of people is Australia is no longer a democracy as a result of it. The way I see it, Christian, it's kind of like being in a domestic violent relationship. The wife, for example, is being lied to. She's being controlled. The money, obviously, that the husband's more interested in looking after the cougar that's giving him money, buying
Wow.
presents for the people that he's cheating on. She's getting lied and cheated to, but she's like, well, it could be worse. I could have to go with his brother. That's the sort of democracy I think Australia is currently in.
Right.
And we are in a domestic violent relationship at the moment with our government as a result.
Yeah. Nathan, are we seeing another example of that today? There is the possibility of a Senate inquiry. Nick Xenophon, the independent senator from South Australia, who's saying that we should have a Senate inquiry into the iron ore price. And as soon as that was mooted, there were lobbyists from all the big mining companies flown into Canberra to basically intimidate senators against going for this Senate inquiry.
That's exactly right, Christian. The people that we look after, or our money pays for their wages, right? They're being manipulated, and so is the press. I mean, journalists get handed propaganda information from these lobbyists to influence sort of public opinion and, more importantly, public policy, especially our health policy.
Nathan, another one from the last few days, Tony Abbott saying that GPS tracking for repeat domestic violence offenders may be necessary in Australia.
Exactly. So the solution here, Christian, it's if you think about it, more people have died this year in domestic violence sort of murders or attacks, etc., than Australian soldiers died in the entire Iraq war, which has been going on, for like 9 years.
Yeah.
So it's a major problem in Australia. And once again, our government, who I even compared them to domestic violent relationship, their solution is to control and spy on people, and they think that's going to solve the problem. And for my mind, that's completely ridiculous, okay? Because as we know, say we have bad problems on the roads, okay, what do? We start putting in speeding cameras. And that hasn't done anything but raise revenue. It hasn't made our roads safer at all. Spying on 7-year-old girls while they're on Facebook is not going to solve a crime of passion. But our government is looking after people who want to get this sort of technology in this country, right? And they tell us that is a solution when it clearly isn't. You know what? In a domestic violent relationship, that's what the guy does. He tries to control the woman, check her phone, know where she is at every minute. That's what our government's doing to us, and they say that's the solution for stopping domestic domestic violent offenders. And the reality is, Christian, it is nowhere near lifting our game. It's not doing anything at all, really.
Nathan, did you enjoy Prince Harry's visit to Australia and New Zealand over the last few weeks?
Christian, I certainly did, and I feel like if I join the national service, which he's proposing, I could have women scream in parking lots. Like, that's the solution. Prince Harry, right, his family is the biggest welfare recipients Australia ever has, right? We could take away their money that he gives to his family, and we could pay for 1 million dole bludgers without a problem.
We'd be back into surplus.
Look, exactly, and this is my issue on it. National service means, this is what he says. He says, Prince Harry says it's taught him, I believe he used the word respect and discipline.
Yeah.
Now, national service means our kids would learn it takes respect and discipline to kill innocent people in foreign lands for corporate interests, which on false pretenses, which we now know is a reality. So it's a big call, but let's just say if we hadn't have gone into Iraq, there'd be no ISIS.
Now, speaking of going into Iraq, more and more claims are coming out about the time around 9/11, the subsequent weapons of mass destruction that never existed, and indeed the ultimate execution of Osama bin Laden that suggests that there was no basis for any of that.
That's right. Seymour Hersh, look, he's a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and journalist, etc. He's now come out saying that the Osama bin Laden official story about how he was killed based on the SEALs going in, you've probably seen that propaganda film, what was it, Dark 30 or something like that. Now, that story, apparently now there's evidence to prove that that was a complete lie and a complete farce. And in fact, there's even suggestions that Osama bin Laden was killed way earlier, and by a drone strike apparently, and that whole SEAL attack was fantasy because he was basically living in the Gold Coast, Pakistan. Osama bin Laden, I mean, if he's the most wanted man in the world, although the Gold Coast is a shady, sunny place for shady people, why would he live in a resort town in Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
So now the official story comes out that most of that was in fact a lie. And he's going all through the mainstream media, and they're all actually listening to what he has to say because he does have some sort of insider information. But see, my problem here, Christian, is this goes on the back of the fact that we now know, according to claims, and it's not from a conspiracy theorist about 9/11. This is from a top U.S. senator who's actually in charge, of the intelligence committee over in the U.S., right? He's come out to say there are documents to prove Saudi Arabia helped actually pull off the attacks of 9/11, which is really scary because that's an act of war.
Yeah.
And yet we're inviting, Saudi Arabia, the heads of state, down to our G20 meetings in Brisbane and protecting them. And they're the ones who apparently got us all into this mischief to start with. It's all to do with this 27 redacted pages, which they won't release in the official document. So that is really, really heavy claims from someone very, very important. And, of course, it all goes on the back of new CIA declassified documents that prove there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which got us into the mess in the first place. So now we know that most of what we're hearing and sort of the public opinion is being coaxed around, if I can use that word, is all turning out to be a lie. Now we know that the Australian government is the victim of lobbyist money and political donations. It's quite scary that they're making these decisions for us to go into war on false pretenses while then it's not really a democratic state. It's quite a state of affairs we're living in here.
Yeah, it really is. Although for a moment there, when you said he was living on the Gold Coast, I thought he might have been shacking up with Warwick Capper or at the Candyman Mansion at Hope Island.
Mate, he'd be finished. That would be the first way, I reckon, to get rid of Osama bin Laden.
Although, when the SEALs went in and stormed the barracks in Pakistan, apparently the amount of porn that they found was staggering.
Well, apparently that's true. Apparently the actual documents that they stole were real. It's just that the guy wasn't there.
Aside from that,
holding a gun.
Aside from that, it was all real.
Everything else is real.
Nathan Bray, thanks, mate. We'll catch up again same time next week.
Cheers, everybody.